Hello, it's Greg Otten here with MaritimeGardening.com, and I got a bunch of potatoes here that I've dried out, and I'm going to show you how I store these for the winter. Stay with me. Well, hello, I'm here by the sea. Good morning, it's April 3rd here in beautiful spring Nova Scotia, and then today I'm going to find some squash in my tulip garden. Hi, it's Greg Otten here with MaritimeGardening.com. I'm going to talk about garlic. Hi, it's Greg Otten here with MaritimeGardening.com. I thought I'd do a quick video to show how I store these things for the winter. I plant a lot of potatoes because they store well. If you've got a reasonably cool place, you can put them under 10 degrees Celsius. They'll keep for quite a while. The ideal temperature to store them in is, closer to like 5 degrees Celsius, no colder. I find my garage tends to stay around that temperature all winter long. It is not heated, but it's adjacent to the house, so it gets some. It never seems to get below 5 degrees Celsius. So here's how you do it. The first thing you do is you pick your potatoes and you spread them out on the ground and dry them out. Make sure they're good and dry because you don't want any moisture in there. There has to be a degree of humidity, but that humidity will just come from the potatoes themselves and from the environment inside your box. The next thing you do is you just sort them out and make sure that none of them are flawed in any way. You don't want potatoes that have holes bored into them or bruises or any sort of problem that's going to cause a situation where you're storing them that causes the other potatoes to become compromised. So I've already done that, and these are the ones I'm going to keep. Some of these are going to be, I got some more here as well. These ones too. So some of these are going to be kept for eating, and some of them are going to be put aside as seed potatoes for next year. So all you do is you get yourself a nice dry cardboard box, and you just put them in the box in layers, starting with the bigger ones on the bottom. So let's see if I can get a good angle here. Just place them in tiers, right? Put the big ones on the bottom because they're the heaviest. You don't want them squishing the smaller ones. Okay, so there's one tier. Once you've got that tier, then you put maybe a bit of newspaper in there. The newspaper creates a humidor effect that maintains the humidity. Doesn't get too humid or not too humid. It absorbs moisture when there's an excess, and then it evaporates. And this is a cardboard box, so it's not airtight. It's been my experience that this seems to maintain the humidity levels just where they need to be. If I don't eat them too quickly, these potatoes will keep right up until March, no problem, in my garage. But I never seem to get past March without eating them all. So I can't say how well they store beyond that. And we got our first tier here, a little bit of paper in. I'll just put a bit of cardboard in there. Measure that. Doesn't have to be exact. That's the one layer. And we do our next layer. I'll put a few of these aside as seed potatoes. Now I've read that you should keep your biggest potatoes as seed potatoes, and I've done that, and it's a good idea because those potatoes will have the most fuel for the next generation. But the problem is you can only store so many really big potatoes, and space is limited. If you're keeping seed potatoes, for me it's limited because there's a particular kind of environment you need for storing potatoes long term, right up until, I need these to keep until next May, so I have a unique way of cold storing them for the winter that I'll show in another video. But anyway, for these, just pick out the nice ones, all of similar size. It's good to keep them of similar variety too, just so you can, you know, keep things organized if that's important to you. Now, some of these are different varieties, but I'm not being totally obsessed. This is Kennebec here. That one's got a tiny hole there, so that's a food potato. Put that aside. I mean, there's another so something attacked that. So that's going to be eaten next couple days. Don't want any of those going in. You want nice, dry, pristine potatoes. They will keep quite a while. All right, so that's done. Now you put another tier of paper on top of this. Again, this is to maintain the relative humidity in there, and also to keep any sort of light from getting into the box, right? If these are going to be kept in my garage, the light's on sometimes. You don't want your potatoes exposed to light, right? You want a cool, dry, dark place. So that's what I'm creating here. I put these right on the floor of my garage, the concrete floor, because that's always a lot colder than the air. This time of year it's colder than the air, and in the winter it tends to be pretty stable. I mean, what are you doing? You're fooling these potatoes into thinking they're overwintering in their natural environment, which is like somewhere in the border of Peru and Bolivia. That's where potatoes originate from, as I understand it. That's a different climate than here. I'm in zone 6, zone 5, depending on the year. So you want them to stay in a cool, dry, dark place. Not get too cold, not get too hot. That's all you got to do is just put some tape over that, and those are ready for next year. Done. All right, so that's, I don't know, maybe 10 pounds, 20, 30 pounds of potatoes, all stored away for the winter. I've got another whole, I got fall potatoes in the garden as well. I've been storing them for a while now, but these are the last of them. So we're all ready. Potatoes are all picked and they're all squared away. All I got to do now is store my seed potatoes for next year. And one final note, I don't grow all of my potatoes from seed potatoes that I've saved. I've just never seemed to grow enough to have enough left over for that. But I do save some every year, and I try to save a few more every year. Also, any given year when I go to the garden center, they have some new variety I've never tried before, so I give them a shot. I think these ones here were Aramosa, I believe, and they're a beautiful tasting potato, but they tend to get, this one's got scab all over it. I don't know if that's the actual variety or what, but I mean, you peel these and they're delicious tasting potato, but I probably wouldn't plant them again because I can't store them, not in this sort of condition. I wouldn't want to anyway. So, you know, they're not the best variety in my opinion. But, you know, you got to figure out what works for you and what works in your area. Anyway, I hope that was useful. I hope you enjoyed that content. And if you're not growing a lot of potatoes, get growing a lot of potatoes, because they're so easy to grow. You stick them in the ground, you put a heavy mulch over them, you don't do anything else until fall when you pick them. If you plant them early enough in the year, where I am here, where there's still snow on the ground, usually the 1st of April, but I plant them around the end of April, and I start harvesting and eating my own potatoes sometime in late July. So from late July until around March, I don't have to buy potatoes, and I just eat my own. You might say, well, who cares? Potatoes are cheap. You can get 50-pound bag of potatoes for 16 bucks, which is true. But if you ever grow your own, you'll find that the ones you grow are way better eating. Not only do you have a much broader choice in variety, the ones they sell in the grocery store, there's only a handful of varieties that are available, and most of them really don't have a lot of flavor. Those varieties have been chosen for how well they store, how well they ship, and how they look. Just next time you go to the grocery store, just look. You'll see like 3 or 4 kinds. It'll be like Yukon Gold, Russet, Ida Reds, and is that about it? Might be 1 or 2 others, maybe. There's not a lot of selection. If you go to a garden center, you notice there's about 10 or 15 different varieties of potato to choose from to grow. And the other thing is that, you know, potatoes that are grown commercially, they're hit with pesticides, they're hit with herbicides. They're varieties that can stand up to all of that. So flavor is on the bottom of the list. And usually no one really cares about flavor where potatoes are concerned, because they cover them with other flavors. But if flavor is important and you want potatoes that are very flavorful and really good for you, grow your own, find a space on your property, and man, there's nothing easier to grow than potatoes. They're easy to grow, store easily, store for a long time, good for you, nutritious. It's a real winner in terms of if you're trying to grow a garden with the goal of really providing food for your families. You want to plant a few calorie crops like potato. It's probably one of the easier calorie crops to grow. Alright, so I hope that was useful. If you enjoyed this content, like us on Facebook, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and check out the podcast, maritimegardening.com. Until next time, get out there, get at it, and have fun in your garden. Thanks for watching.